Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, there's a sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Loki. This is chapter 7, part 2. Loki's eyes darkened. He was about to say something else, but chose to remain silent. The following day, Aliera acted like the night before had not occurred, and she went with Ingrid and Loki towards the public garden. And the garden was a relatively new construction. Formerly, the land was the location for the temple of Arasa. As the mother claimed that Arasa was no more, the temple was repurposed into a public garden. The roof was removed as well as most of the walls, and aside from the columns and the floor, the rest was decorated with flowers and flowering trees. For the berserkers, Mother felt a bit like a continuation of Berserkman. Both had the same construction orientation, and Loki too knew of his other's interest in the scenery, and it was one of the few credible parts of whatever story his brother told, and for reasons unknown to the locals, Madu had chosen Violet as the general theme. And the main flowers consisted of globe masters, calistebrus, cosmos, cornflowers, asters, morning glories, scabiosas, and zinnias. The gardeners were constantly tending to the flowers, maintaining their pristine form for all visitors to enjoy. There was but a single rule when visiting the garden: no picking. You can't take the flowers with you. Whenever someone was tempted enough to pick a flower, there was always a gardener who seemed to materialize out of thin air, and a firm reprimand was enough to prevent further attempts. Aside from the twins, Loki was accompanied by little Ladia. And while looking at the flowers, Ingrid commented, "Now this is nice. I must make a mental note to have a garden installed in my castle." Alida rolled her eyes and moved back a face behind Ingrid. And while Alida looked around, she noticed that she was not being noticed, and it was a bit of a strange feeling not to be gaped at. And a lot of strange happenings had occurred before her arrival, and now a snake lady seemed like something trivial. And Ladia drew closer to one of the glove masters to smell it, and she made a motion to pick it, but noticed 5 pairs of eyes staring daggers at her. "Son," she said, "it is a bit of a tease, having so many flowers but none to take home. I hear they are building a little bee farm within the actual citadel itself. If you pick the flowers, the bees won't have anything to eat," commented Loki. "I don't get it," said Ladia. "Well, inside the flower there is a substance called nectar. It is too small for humans to make use of it. Bees collect it and then use it to make honey. You like honey, don't you? If you pick the flowers, then the bees won't make honey for you," explained Loki. "As you had to pay for the yards, and not picking these flowers does not benefit me in the least," said Lydia dourly. "Well, you could try making your own bee farm," suggested Alida. "That's easier said than done. I require a special license from the Merchants Guild to even own bees and sell their honey," explained Lydia. "License? What's that?" asked Ingrid. "By the gods, you literally have been living under a rock," said Alida, laughing. "There isn't a need to know about licenses anymore under the new system," said one of the gardeners. "Oh, that's good to know. So let's say I wanted to become a gardener of the state. What would I have to do now that licenses aren't a thing?" asked Ladia. "I don't know. As for me, I was caught stabbing my mother to death, and after spending 2 years in a dungeon, I was released and made into a gardener. I still have another 4 years of my sentence, but working in the garden sure beats rotting away in a dingy dungeon," said the gardener. "That's nice. So I suppose everyone working in the gardens are criminals," said Alida, frowning. "There are also demons," said the gardener coolly before returning to his work. "What, so there be demons? There is no reason to be so antsy," commented Loki. "How can you be so calm?" asked Alida. "These ones have a loaded master. The unbounded ones are the real problem," explained Loki. "Ah, I see," said Alida, pretending to understand. Her pout made Ingrid's mouth for reasons Alida could not understand. And after visiting the gardens, they went to the training grounds, and Alida had never seen a berserker barracks, and traditionally barracks were situated in the interior of the castle itself. However, berserkers like to train in the open air whenever possible, and in Verageddon there were 5 exterior barracks, and they existed out of convenience to avoid having all of the soldiers located in the castle. As with the walls, the barracks in town was relatively new building, even it was made using Roman concrete. And Roman concrete was introduced by Marduk after carefully consulting what he called his scriptures. And the building was designed for functionality with no ornamentation. It was a boring spherical structure with a dome roof. Efforts were currently being made by the draconic architects to breathe some life into the monotony. So while the humans used the structure for its intended purpose, the dragons were busy decorating its interior and exterior. and the current project was a tile roof made of bone-ash porcelain. The section already completed had a beautiful geometrical pattern of colorful blue lines with red and green squares against a golden background. "Oh, that does look nice," exclaimed Alida, staring at the roof. And there was still a couple of blocks away from the barracks, and with only the roof visible, it was quite an impressive structure indeed. And Loki commented, "I do not think my dude would approve of that square roof pattern." "It looks great. What's not to like about it?" asked Alida. "I don't know, it's a little too angular, if you get my meaning," commented Loki, forming a triangle with his hands by connecting his index finger. Alida looked at Loki from head to toe, and she noticed the round oars holding the cake together, and the round Murano oar with its swirly aqua spatter and his gimme staff. And after noticing these little round items, she concluded that Loki just liked balls, which made her laugh a little. After she liked his balls. She likes balls.
Oh, basically all of the powers, they have a fixation with orbs.
Yeah.
And they
or aldermen, or whatever you want to call them. At the time.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, amen. I forgot. They started calling themselves aldermen to sound cool.
Yeah, a rebranding. After observing the plain exterior of the building, Loki and his party entered what was dubbed the visitor center. "Don't you feel a bit up to be touring a military facility?" asked Alida. "It is not as if there's a lot of public spaces to visit here," explained Loki. "We could pass to some of the nobles to look at the collection of oddities, but considering the vibe in this town, it is better not to push one's luck." "We could visit a nice bar," suggested Ladia. "I'm half sick of bars, and I'm not much of a drinker," said Ingrid. "There are other things to do at the bars aside from drinking," commented Loki. "I bet there is, but it's like you go to a bar and don't drink, it's like going to a temple and not praying," insisted Ladia. "You certainly make a convincing argument, but I'm not going either," said Alida. "Ah, you're no fun," said Lida, regretting the chance of not getting a free drink. The interior of the barracks featured a long white hallway before opening out to the large cubicle rooms with no corner, and the roof was domed and it had an oculus hole, allowing for light to enter within, and the roof was in the process of getting reliefs carved into it, and there were scaffolds and some sections were closed off due to the debris, and there were 5 circular frames in the form of twisting, intertwining maidens, and the paintings inside of them were not even started, and only one was completed, and it was a source of contemplation. And above them was a frame for a balcony windows from the third story above, and on top of it was a cartoon of a future fresco painting leading to the oculus, which was made of stained glass. And the stained glass featured an oval with 2 arrows pointing at each other at the tip, and inside the arrow tip there was a square. Alida stared at the oculus while she meditated on the meaning of the symbol. In answer to her unspoken inquiry, Loki said, "It means help me, and let me help you." "Really?" asked one of the small dragons, looking up. While Alida stared at the rose, the symbolic iconography, Ladia and Ingrid stared at the single painting in the large frame. And the sole painting had appeared overnight, and the old painting was still wet and dripping towards the floor from time to time, and it featured, with stark realism, 2 guys fighting, and one was twisting the back of the other guy while at the same time biting his neck. And behind the pair there were 2 dressed fellows looking at the battle with bewilderment, and watching the 2 men was a demon smirking with his arms folded and bat wings. And behind the demon, blended with the background, was an army of array of human bodies contrasting against the fiery hue of the background. And due to the subject matter, it was believed to be the work of a demon. And as such, the locals wanted to paint it over with something a little more holy. And the soldiers going about their business rarely had time to look up, and as such they did not care what was painted there. And a few captives found it oddly charming, and Loki only gave this painting a scant glance. It was something he had seen before. As such, it did not merit his attention. And as they were heading out, Ingrid saw a soldier approaching her, and smiling, the young man asked, "You are new, aren't you? Are you interested in our self-defense program?" Time?
5 minutes, 30 seconds.
"I already know how to defend myself, but do please tell me more. I am curious," said Ingrid. "It is a 1-week course dealing with combat basics, arrow shooting, spear wielding, sword fighting. At the end of the course, you get a complimentary weapon of your choice, a crossbow, a spear, a sword, a knife, as well as a basic leather armor," explained the soldier. "I will think about it," said Ingrid. "Please do. There was never a person who regretted investing in self-defense, especially now in these turbulent times, said the soldier. There would not be any turmoils, as you call it, if my dad would sit down on the throne and act like a second person, said Ladia. The soldier's eyes darkened, and without saying anything, he handed Ingrid a little book with the information on the basic program. And Ingrid placed it inside her purse, making a mental note to look through it later. And while they were heading out, Ingrid commented, turbulence aside, I think it would do you good to learn self-defense. Just having access to the light crossbow can help you in the long run. I don't want to know how to use a crossbow, pouted Ladia. And it's not about having to use a weapon, but knowing how to use it should the need arise. You can't predict the future. What if the walls were to fall? And there were some bastards about to enter your house to kill you. What would you do? Asked Loki. I would run, said Ladia. I'm a pretty fast runner. But then what would you do if you get surrounded in an alley? What would you do? Insisted Loki. Probably die, since crossbows take at least 5 seconds to nod. And she could shoot one, but 4 or 5 men, that's a bit too many to shoot, said Alida. It is a bit pointless, don't you think, trying to give a false sense of security with his so-called training, commented Ingrid. As far as I know, security is just an illusion, retorted Loki. You can feel pretty safe walking through the dark woods surrounded by wolves all you want. That still won't stop them from pouncing on you. I see your point, said Alida. If it were up to my brother, everyone would have military training, but this idea has to be introduced and executed slowly. There's just not enough idle soldiers to get the ball rolling, so to speak, explained Loki. Wait, what? If that is so, I might as well get it over with and join the army, said Ladia sadly. There is no rush. With the standing forces at the moment, there's more than enough people to reinforce the citadel. If anything major breaks out, we have the Cerberus mage, said Loki, patting Ladia's silken hat. Ah, there's a mage here. What does he look like? Maybe we have passed by him or not, said Ingrid. Trust me, you would notice him if you saw him, said Loki. Oh, so he's like red, with the rolls, the talisman, the stupid mage ones, and a bunch of other useless items, stated Ingrid. They are not useless items, my dear Ingrid, explained Loki. Not everyone can use direct magic like yourself, and most require a medium to make their powers work. I understand the gimmicks and the spell component, but who decided that rolls were necessary for spellcasting, insisted Ingrid. I was wondering about that myself, said Alida thoughtfully. It is not like an armor which is useful. The rolls do seem rather cumbersome, said Ingrid. I think it's more of a fashion statement. People have grown to associate rolls with mages. Even non-mages wear them to keep people on edge, said Loki. Okay?
2 minutes and 22 seconds.
But now the group was outside the barracks and making their way towards the market. And they had not originally planned to visit it. Rather, the conversation had dragged on and nobody in the group was particularly paying attention to where they were walking to. And continuing with this train of thought, Ladia interjected. That isn't necessarily true. Before the temple was destroyed, all of the priests of Arasa wore similar robes, but no magic-looking idols and pouches and belts and furs and knives. A long time ago, magics and blessings were practiced by the priests, but one day magic was labeled a taboo and expelled from the temples, explained Loki. And his eyes had a glassy, wandering look, and his voice sounded monotone, almost as if he was repeating something that he was listening to at the very moment. Ah, so magic isn't evil, said Ladia, looking at a bookstand featuring some magical tomes. As with most things, it depends who you ask, said Loki, shrugging his shoulder. The string of the conversation was broken when a man bumped into Ingrid. Annoyed, she said, Hey! Loki's hair extended and caught the man by the leg, causing him to fall. Catching after her, Loki said, Apologize to the little lady. The man was about to protest, but a dozen guards had his eyes accosted him with clubs, and once he could barely move, the guards tied him out to remove him from the market. And staring at the man, Ingrid asked, What was that all about? Ladia explained, It's been happening more often as of late, people sneaking into town, and every new face who has not been vetted gets caught and thrown unceremoniously out of town. Seems a bit excessive, don't you think? Commented Alida. He probably injured one of the children guards, and probably. Or maybe this is the fifth time he has somehow managed to scurry past security. The wall is relatively new, and there's still a lot of gaps in it. Time?
Less than a minute.
The group continued the wanders to the market, and since there was no river near the citadel, the town did not have fish to trade, and this made the market a tolerable place to visit. And Ingrid was looking into a shop that had a series of elegant billboards. Alright, we're done with this. Bye-bye.